morning. And next factor that depends on the rate of adsorption is pressure. We have already discussed three factors, namely nature of gas, surface area of adsorbent, pressure, and in temperature. And in temperature you can see a graphical representation that is called adsorption isobar. And next important factor depends upon adsorption is pressure. And first you just go through this graphical representation. Again we draw the graph by using extent of adsorption against pressure. You see the nature of graph like this. Here it reaches a maximum value. That maximum value is called saturation pressure. The graph drawn by extent of adsorption against pressure at constant temperature is called adsorption isotherm. Adsorption isotherm, constant temperature. The former graph is called adsorption isobar. And by analyzing the graph, you can see that at a low pressure, the graph is almost a straight line and have a slope. Here, this extent of adsorption is directly proportional to pressure, or x by m equal to k into p raised to 1. And at high pressure, x by m is independent of pressure. That is, at a high pressure, x by m is independent. It does not depend upon pressure, or x by m equal to k into p raised to 0. Next we concentrated between these high and low values. In between this high and low value, we can say that in between high and low values, x by m proportional to p raised to 1 by n, where n is greater than 1, or x by m equal to k into p raised to 1 by n. This is very important relation, and it is generally called Freundlich adsorption isotherm. X by m equal to k into p raised to 1 by n is called Freundlich adsorption isotherm. Okay. And one of the drawback of this Freundlich adsorption isotherm, it fails at high pressure. It is not applicable at a high pressure. Then x by m equal to k into p raised to 1 by n. And if we take logarithm on both sides, it becomes log x by m equal to log k plus 1 by n log p. That is, log x by m equal to k is the proportionality constant, log k plus log x raised to n means n log x. Therefore, log p raised to 1 by n equal to 1 by n log p. And we just redraw that graph by taking, instead of x by m, we take log x by m against log p. We get a straight line which on extrapolation to pressure x, which on extrapolation the slope of the straight line, we get a straight line with a slope equal to 1 by n and y-intercept equal to log k. If we get 1 by n, then you can calculate the value of n, or if you know the value of log k, anti-log of, then you can calculate the value of k also. From that, the value of k and n can be calculated. Okay? Once more I repeat about this effect of pressure, that is the rate of adsorption increases with the increase in pressure. The graphical representation between the extent of adsorption against pressure at constant temperature is called adsorption isotherm, and in that graph you can see that at a high pressure it is independent and at a low pressure it is almost a straight line. At low pressure it directly depends on pressure, and at high pressure it is independent of pressure. In between high and low values, we have the relation x by m proportional to p raised to 1 by n, or x by m equal to k into p raised to 1 by n. That is the expression of Freundlich adsorption or Freundlich adsorption isotherm. And if we taking logarithm on both sides in the above equation, it becomes log x by m equal to log k plus 1 by n log p. By redrawing that above graph, by taking log x by m against log p, we get a straight line whose slope equal to 1 by n and the y-intercept equal to log k. From that, the value of k and n can be calculated. Okay? These are the important factors that affect the adsorption of gas on a solid surface. And next, adsorption from solution. Adsorption from solution. How this pressure is related for a gaseous species? In the same way, for the solution, the term instead of pressure is concentration. Hence, adsorption from solution, here x by m equal to k into c raised to 1 by n, where c is the concentration of solution. That is log x by m equal to log k plus 1 by n log c. That is, instead of pressure, the term applicable for solution is concentration, that is adsorption from solution. And what are the important applications of adsorption? Already told that there is silica gel. Silica gel is used for the adsorption of moisture. Adsorption of moisture. Activated charcoal. You know charcoal, common charcoal, animal charcoal is used for the decolorization of sugar. When sugar is crystallized from sugarcane juice, it is either yellow or brown colored. When it is treated with this animal charcoal, it turns to colorless. That is, charcoal is used for the decolorization of sugar. When this charcoal is heated at about 650 to 1300 degrees Celsius, some volatile components are expelled. As a result, the surface area increases and they are called activated charcoal. This activated charcoal is used in gas mask. Nowadays, the familiar term is mask, isn't it? It is used in gas mask to adsorb poisonous gases. Those who work in oil refinery or rig, they mainly use this type of gas mask. A lot of poisonous gases are there. That gas get absorbed. Once we inhale that gas, poisonous or toxic gas, it may lead to death. In order to prevent that, they usually wear a gas mask which contains this activated charcoal. That charcoal, the poisonous gas get absorbed on the charcoal surface. Then froth flotation. Froth flotation, that is one of the technique for the concentration of ore particles. There is a detailed lesson called metallurgy, belongs to inorganic part in our syllabus. Different ores, minerals and a different method for the concentration. Froth flotation, the lighter ore particles are preferentially absorbed by the oil. Froth flotation. Chromatography. Chromatography. Last year we have studied about the different types of organic purification method. Organic solids are purified mainly by crystallization and sublimation, and there are variety of method for the purification of organic liquids such as simple distillation, fractional distillation, distillation under reduced pressure, differential extraction, steam distillation, as well as chromatography, mainly used for the separation of colored compound. There you have studied that chromatography is of two types. One is adsorption chromatography and other is partition chromatography. That is, adsorption chromatography is based on this phenomena called adsorption. And third one is heterogeneous catalysis. Heterogeneous catalysis. All these factors are mainly purely based on adsorption. And in titration also, this year you have practical class also where you are doing various type of titrations. Titration is the process of measurement of volume of a solution that is required to react completely with the measured volume of another solution. And since the acid and base, normally acid and base are colorless, we use an external substance called indicator that shows different color in different medium. In permanganometric titration, KMnO4, potassium permanganate itself acts as the indicator. There is no indicator is used, self-indicator. Otherwise, we use mainly acidimetry and alkalimetry. We use phenolphthalein, methyl orange, etc., methylene blue, etc. And adsorption indicators such as eosine. Eosine is used in volumetric analysis. These are the major applications of adsorption. That is one part of this chapter, surface chemistry. Mainly, that lesson contains three topics. One is about this adsorption, that is already over, and the second part about catalysis, and the third part is the most important one, that is about colloids. And we move through the next topic of the surface chemistry, that is about catalysis. Catalysis. We studied about catalyst. Catalyst is a substance which either increase or decrease, generally which alter means make a change, either increase or decrease the rate of a reaction without undergoing a self change. It alters the rate of a reaction without undergoing a self change. Such substance is called a catalyst. And the reaction takes place by using a catalyst is called a catalysis reaction. Okay? A catalyst is a substance. Some of you think that the catalyst only increase the rate of a reaction. No. There are some catalysts which decrease the rate of a reaction. That is why we mainly use that term alter or vary or change the rate of a reaction without undergoing a self change. The reaction takes place by using a catalyst is called a catalysis catalysis reaction. And the different terms regarding to this catalysis is positive and negative catalyst. Positive and negative catalyst. If a catalyst increases the rate of a reaction, if a catalyst increases the rate of a reaction, it is called a positive catalyst. It is called a positive catalyst. You know, potassium chlorate, KClO3, the rate of decomposition of potassium chlorate increases in presence of manganese dioxide. Hence, it is a positive catalyst. Catalyst which increases the rate of a reaction. There is another term, you don't confuse with that, that is why we discuss one by one. A catalyst itself increases the rate of a reaction, it is called a positive catalyst. And if a catalyst decreases the rate of a reaction, it is called a negative catalyst. For example, the rate of decomposition of hydrogen peroxide decreases in presence of dilute sulfuric acid. Rate of decomposition of hydrogen peroxide decreases in presence of dilute sulfuric acid, hence it acts as a negative catalyst. Think you are clear with these two terms. One is positive catalyst and other is a negative catalyst. Positive catalyst always increases the rate, while negative catalyst decreases the rate. That is why a catalyst can either increase or decrease. That is called an alteration, which alters the rate of a reaction without undergoing a self-change. Next is catalytic promoter and catalytic inhibitor. Catalytic promoter and catalytic inhibitor or poison. Catalytic promoter, I think I have studied about this Haber process, isn't it? Which is used for the manufacture of ammonia. Nitrogen gas, hydrogen gas, the catalyst, which is a reversible reaction, it is done in presence of spongy iron supported over molybdenum. The product is NH3. Ammonia is the product. Here, this is the equation for Haber process. Nitrogen combines with the hydrogen in presence of spongy iron supported over molybdenum. Here, the duty or function of iron is it acts as a catalyst, while molybdenum associated with this iron acts as a catalytic promoter. Then what is a catalytic promoter? If the substance associated with a catalyst, if the substance associated with a catalyst increases the rate of a reaction, if the substance associated with the rate of a reaction, it is called a catalytic promoter. Okay? In the earlier case, the catalyst itself increases the rate. It is called a positive catalyst. Here, the substance associated with the catalyst increases the activity, increases the rate of a reaction. It is called a positive catalyst. And if the substance associated with a catalyst decreases the rate of a reaction, it is called a catalytic inhibitor or catalytic poison. Catalytic inhibitor or catalytic poison. In contact process, that is one of the method for the manufacture of sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid is manufactured either by lead chamber process or by contact process. And in contact process, vanadium pentoxide acts as the catalyst. And if there is any traces of arsenic, if negligible amount of arsenic is present in that medium, that arsenic, trace of arsenic destroy the activity of vanadium pentoxide. Therefore, this conversion never takes place. Here arsenic is called, in this reaction arsenic is called a catalytic inhibitor or catalytic poison. Clear? That is, substance associated with a catalyst increases the rate, it is called a promoter. If the substance associated with a catalyst decreases the rate, it is called a catalytic inhibitor or catalytic poison. Okay. Next is about homogeneous and heterogeneous catalysis. Homogeneous and heterogeneous catalysis. Homogeneous and heterogeneous catalysis. Homo means same. If reactant and catalyst are in same phase, if the reactant and the catalyst are in same phase, they are called homogeneous catalysis. Example, hydrolysis of ester. Hydrolysis of ester. Ester hydrolysis, CH3COOC2H5. That is, hydrolysis means splitting using water. It is normally carried out in presence of aqueous mineral acid, aqueous liquid state. The product is carboxylic acid and alcohol. Carboxylic acid and alcohol. And the second one, lead chamber process. Lead chamber process for the manufacture of sulfuric acid. Lead chamber process, I already told you that there are two methods for the industrial preparation of sulfuric acid, either by lead chamber process or the most important, most applicable method is contact process. Here 2SO2 in gaseous state plus O2 again in gaseous state, the reaction is catalyzed by nitric oxide, which is also in gaseous state. Here you can see that all the reactants as well as catalysts are in same phase. Here also same phase. Such a catalysis is called a homogeneous catalysis. Last year we have studied about this homogeneous and heterogeneous equilibria. Here both reactant and products are in same phase. Here reactant and catalysts are in same phase. They are called a homogeneous catalysis. And in the case of heterogeneous catalysis, reactant and catalyst are in different phase. Reactant and catalyst are in different phase. And example is Haber process. Haber process for the manufacture of ammonia. Haber process for the manufacture of ammonia. Here N2 gas plus 3H2 gas. Spongy iron in solid state. Spongy iron in solid state. Here reactants are in gaseous state, iron is in solid state. reactant and catalyst are in different phase. That is heterogeneous catalysis. And second one is contact process for the manufacture of sulfuric acid. Contact process for the manufacture of sulfuric acid. Here the catalyst used is vanadium pentoxide, which is in solid state. This question asks like this: differentiate or distinguish between homogeneous and heterogeneous catalysis with a suitable example. The word homo means same, hetero means different. Here, the point you have to remember is that here the catalyst and the reactant are in same phase. It is called a homogeneous catalysis, and if the reactant and catalyst are in different phase, they are called a heterogeneous catalysis. Okay, clear? Next, we discuss about these. That is, one of the application of adsorption is heterogeneous catalysis. Already told, heterogeneous catalysis. About this adsorption theory of heterogeneous catalysis. That is, in contact process, the reactant species, the catalyst is vanadium pentoxide, which is in solid state. The gaseous reactant, sulfur dioxide as well as oxygen, move through the surface of solid catalyst, vanadium pentoxide, and act on a particular site which is called a active center to form a highly unstable activated complex. Activated complex are highly unstable species. They have only transitory existence. Once the reactant combines to form an intermediate compound, that is generally termed as this activated complex, and not in all centers, they act as a particular site on the solid catalyst. That site is called active center, where it forms a highly unstable activated complex. Finally, that complex activated, the product is desorbed or removed from the surface of catalyst. That the product at the surface of catalyst is desorbed. Desorption means removal, and it acts as a new site for the incoming reacting species. That is adsorption theory of heterogeneous catalysis. Once more, the gaseous reactant diffuse or move through the solid catalyst and act on a particular site which is called a active center. And finally, it forms an activated complex and decomposes to form product, or desorption of the product from the surface of catalyst takes place. It is called adsorption theory of this heterogeneous catalysis. And next, there are two important terms related to this catalyst. One is activity and the second one is selectivity. Activity and selectivity of catalyst. Activity means it is nothing but how a positive catalyst works. It is the ability of a catalyst to enhance the rate of a reaction, to speed up the rate of a reaction. For example, hydrogen and oxygen are allowed to combine in presence of platinum catalyst. They readily forms water with an explosive violence. That is, platinum enhance the combination of hydrogen and oxygen to form water. That is called the activity of this catalyst. And by this example, you can realize what you mean by selectivity. Here you can see there is an unsaturated hydrocarbon belongs to the class of alkyne, YNA. Addition of hydrogen in two different ways. If the addition of hydrogen takes place in presence of nickel catalyst, it is called catalytic hydrogenation, or the hydrogenation can be done in presence of palladized charcoal. It is called Lindlar's catalyst. Lindlar's catalyst, palladized charcoal, partial reduction. Here CH3 single bond CH3, here CH2 double bond CH2. That is, in both cases reactants are same. Okay, catalysts are in different. The ability of a catalyst to direct a reaction in order to produce different product is known as selectivity. In your syllabus, the given example, I think it is a reaction between carbon, water gas, carbon monoxide and hydrogen, CO plus 2H2 in presence of copper catalyst at 500 Kelvin, 100 atmospheric pressure, it gives methanol. CO plus 2H2 in molybdenum oxide, it gives formaldehyde or methanol, like that. Same reactant, depending upon the catalyst, different products are formed. That ability of a catalyst to direct a reaction so as to produce different product is called its selectivity. And the remaining thing in this catalysis is about shape selective catalysis as well as this enzyme catalysis, shape selective and enzyme catalysis. And you just go through this area that we already discussed now, and in the next session we discuss about this shape selective catalysis, then about enzyme catalysis, and we can move through the third and most important topic of the surface chemistry, that is nothing but colloid. Okay, thank you all.